Pickleball effect, we break it down hard. Braydon and Kyle, aces in the yard. Aaron drops in like a hidden wild card. Tune in and play, let your guard be scarred.
Hey everyone, welcome to episode 74 of the Pickleball Effect podcast. I'm your host, Braydon. Today we're joined by Kyle and Aaron. Aaron, welcome back.
Thank you.
Kyle's in his new setup.
Looks good. Kyle, I thought you had more than 5 paddles.
I figured I'd be a little different and just have like the 5 paddles that I'm currently playing instead of having the 300 paddles that are in my garage.
Wait, Braydon, that just means what's the 5 latest releases? I went back and watched the Christmas episode when he said Alpha and then Invader, and I realized those were heavily lagging upon release dates, and so I'm trying to think of the last 5 release dates, and that should be the wall. Is that right? Is that math right? Is that mathin', Braydon?
So you got the
it's mathin'.
You got the Lux that's like 522.
Check.
You got the Nightshade, which I don't even know when.
315 or 415.
Yeah, 15.
You got the Filth in the middle that's not out yet.
Check.
I got the Franklin.
Okay.
And the JOOLA.
Kyle just likes whatever he's hit last.
Nice.
That's not true. That's not true.
That's so funny. It looks good. I like the setup and the ultra wide. I'm an ex ultra wide guy myself.
I love that you have a red mic at home too. Like you get the green mic in the studio, red mic at home.
Yep.
Just can't have a black mic.
No, I can't. I gotta have some color in my life.
You always match it with your hat.
I try.
Aaron with the gherkin hat, he's gonna get some beef from Matthew Schwartz.
Come at me, Schwartz. Mano y mano.
The joke there is Matthew Schwartz. He's a blog writer for Hoodef. He's a really good writer, writes some good stuff. And he wrote an article, I don't know what, a couple weeks ago, about people wearing brand stuff on pods and things. And he got a quote from me and a few others, and I was like, yeah, don't do it. I feel like you shouldn't wear brand stuff. So
I'm wearing a branded sweatshirt from a pickleball clothing company.
Yep, both of you fired.
Shills.
Yeah. That's okay. Matthew didn't include a QDEF promo code at the end of the article or anything. So it was actually purely objective as well, right?
Shots fired.
Mm-hmm.
We love you, Matthew.
All right. Today's, we're going to do our usual segments. Not much going on for the weekly update. 38050 is Aaron. Kyle's Corner. We got a few more bowls this time. Good job, Kyle.
Yeah, I actually watched the PPA this weekend and today.
There you go. Dude, I keep looking at your screen. So we're meeting on Google Meets, and Kyle says cupcake on his screen, and I just keep wanting to say cupcake.
It's because it's that's my Google account name.
I feel like we called you or referenced you as Cupcake early on when we started the pod a year ago, but that kind of faded.
Yeah. When you and Porter talked about me, you were like Cupcake Destroyer from Instagram. Yeah.
Oh, that's what it was. Is that still your handle?
Yeah, that's still my handle on my personal Instagram.
The professional is Dink Smash Media. The personal is Cupcake Destroyer, and then he might have a third one. It could be what's that? Tapioca. I don't know.
Tiramisu Terrorizer.
Dude. 65. Yeah.
Aaron, do you have an anonymous account with some funky name?
I have an old email called Delta Aaron Lines. When I thought I was clever, it was either there's a nice edge between Delta Aaron Lines and Hot Aaron Balloon.
That's not bad. Yeah. Your one now is generic.
Generic, a little stronger.
That was pretty good.
A little stronger. Yeah. I don't rebrand.
I don't. Time goes on.
I don't need to rebrand myself 30 times, Kyle. I just one good name and that's it.
Yeah.
I'm the co-host. I'm not the co-host, so what do I know?
I'm the way with usernames as I am with paddles. Just they change as the seasons change.
Nice. Then for Paddle, Babble, and Gear, we're gonna do in light of March Madness, it's cooking right now. Did you guys make brackets?
No.
You guys into the March Madness scene? I'm the only one.
I've been watching basketball, but I just always forget to make a bracket.
Well, we're doing this anyways, so we're gonna do top 16. We grabbed 16 brands. We made some categories of like how we rate each brand. We all individually went and rated them, and then we're just gonna put these head to head, see who comes out as our March Madness winner. So I've seen some other people do this for paddles, so we decided to do it for brands. And we could talk about this when we get into it, like the rules of engagement for this. But I don't think we have to follow the scores exactly. Maybe the scores are tight. We can kind of debate it, and maybe we can have some upsets. But that'll be a fun one. And then we just have one Q&A question, but it's a really good one once we get to that. So weekly update from my end, just a couple things. One is I have a new product coming out called paddle tuning tape. So this is not tungsten. It's a different material, but it's not lead either. So it's safe to handle, but it's a lot cheaper than tungsten. So with this material, I don't want to say what it is because people might go make it, but the material, it's thicker than tungsten. It's like not as premium. So we can make a half gram that's like an acceptable thickness. So we're just going to launch at the half gram, and that's getting shipped to us. That'll probably launch here in 3-4 weeks. But we're going to try it out. So this is going to come in, I think we're going to do about $15-$16. So about
wow, that's big.
$10
Nice.
Cheaper. So we'll see how it's received. I don't know. I'll send you guys some when I get it, because it's not quite as cool, as nice and malleable as tungsten, but it gets the job done, and it's significantly cheaper. And so, that's just the main drawback of tungsten, right? It's just so expensive. If we can bring that down, that'd be sweet. If we can find different, better materials that do the job, that's cheaper, we'll take it. So trying this out, keep messing with it, try to find better materials, but that's the first one we found for now. And then the other thing is just the Adidas event is going to be next weekend. Kyle, you end up dropping out of that one?
Yeah, I got some life stuff going on that's preventing me from going. So I will be out for that, but I'm in for the nerdy tourney.
You're in for the nerdy tourney. Aaron, you're traveling or something. You're going to be in like San Diego?
San Diego for work. Yeah, bad timing. So I'm out to nerdy tourney. Nerdy
tourney's coming though. I saw you post something in the Instagram channel about finding people in San Diego. Did you find people?
Avora reached out. So
nice.
May play with the Dawsons. We'll see. That would be sweet. And then a couple other people DM'd me as well, but we'll see. I'm excited to check out the San Diego paddle scene. If you're in San Diego, you're great at pickleball, and you're looking for a dumpy partner with minor fame, hit my line.
He's the guy.
That's great.
I think, Avora's there. You'll probably see a lot of Gearbox. I think Gearbox is San Diego.
Lot of Gearbox.
San Diego at
Yeah.
one
Didn't
point.
Gearbox just move to Austin, though? Or is it just kind of remnants?
They moved somewhere, but they were in San Diego.
They have a healthy showing in San Diego.
Then you'll probably see some Pro Connects stuff.
So if I flash a GX2 in San Diego, I might be like Jesus walking on water a little bit.
Yeah, maybe.
Yeah, maybe. Yeah, wear that Gherkin hat and that GX2 paddle. Are you digging it? What are your thoughts on that GX2?
Ooh, I like it a lot.
Do you really? I'm the only one that just can't
hyper
get a sense for it.
And I haven't hit a wide body in a while. And again, I know Gearbox's wide body shape's a little bit different. And I thought I didn't like muted paddles after leaving the Saga. I was like too muted, need something more lively. Was really enjoying like the feeling of the Supercourt, feeling the vibrations a little bit more on off center hits. And that's kind of where I cemented my paddle thoughts. I like stiffer paddles where I can feel like the touch more. And then I played with the GX2. And it just like feels great. I can't explain it. I think there are these paddles that come through all of our hands from time to time that just click. And we could talk about.
Are you just saying this to like get at me here? Like, because
I genuinely
said the total opposite last week.
Maybe in a month when you have me on again, I will not be hitting the GX2, and you can ask me, hey, remember those 5 minutes you said it was good? Let's get the real take. But right now, I am really enjoying the GX2 Hyper. I don't understand why. It just plays good and it's fast and it's fun. And I like it. I don't know.
Maybe it's the Hyper. Maybe that's the good one, because I've only been playing the Integra and messing with different waist setups there, because the Integra and the Elongated are the two that are launching first.
But you haven't hit the Hyper?
Just for like 2 seconds. I haven't played games with Hyper or anything, so I need it. I'll go do the Hyper, because the Hyper's launching a month after those two, so I haven't been giving it time. But I'll go hit it. There's definitely paddles where shapes are better with that technology for whatever reason. You have like the carbons, it's just better in the two. You have, stuff like that. That could be a situation where it's just better in that wide body shape.
Yeah, it just could be preference. Kyle, you hit it? You saved me here. Let's double down on Braydon.
I have actually not. I brought it to the court, but
it'd be on the wall. Duh. Sorry.
I was loving on the Lux a little too much that I actually didn't hit it.
That's cool.
All right. Any other stuff for weekly update you guys want to bring up?
What's your itinerary for Adidas? Have you kind of talked through what that would look like? You said you're going to extend your trip a little bit. You guys going to do some filming, some content? I know the Olsons were talking about some podcast battles and stuff like that. You going to sub a partner? You going to get Declan and Austin and go take them down or something?
I don't know what's going to happen there. So the event is on the 8th. We all get on the 7th. We had all planned to stay an extra day to film some games and stuff on the morning of the 9th. But Kyle's not there, so we're not going to do the podcast battle like we originally wanted. Maybe we'll do some other stuff. I thought it'd be fun to do like some commentating. Maybe have like me and Q as the stragglers just commentating and making fun of the 4 people playing or something. And then have a camera on us, or I don't know. There might be some pros there. Might do like some 2v1 type stuff, which would be funny. But no, we'll do something. But the podcast battle like we originally wanted isn't going to happen like we had hoped.
I blew it.
But yeah, we'll see what comes out of that. I don't know. But I think a lot of people are going to be showing up to the Adidas event.
Is it a similar number count to JOOLA, or a little bit bigger, a little smaller?
I would imagine a little smaller. I haven't gotten like a tally from everyone, but I've just heard a few people talk about it here and there.
I know it's been said, but man, Adidas putting the pressure on you, Adidas. You better have something good.
They asked
you're inviting wolves in the hen house.
They did ask for everybody's shoe size though, so at least you know you're gonna get some Adidas shoes. Can't go wrong with some Barricades.
Yeah, we'll walk away with some good apparel that we'll wear on the pod next week. All right, 3 out of 5. Aaron, what do you got for us?
3 out of 5.
Before you jump in, this segment is sponsored by Holy. So they just launched their new one. This is Orange Burst. If you didn't go take advantage of their little free sample sale, go do that this week. Check it out. Orange Burst and Fruit Punch are my personal faves for their in game. Nice. Aaron, we got to hook you up with these. I don't think we've sent you these yet.
Holy, hit my line. Especially if you're in San Diego, let me know. But everything I've heard,
I'll take care of you.
Everything I've heard, I wouldn't even feel comfortable coming on the podcast today as a co-host if I didn't feel good about Holy. And so, holy crap, it's stuff's good. There you go.
That was great.
Make it in the description, and you can use the code PB Effect to get a discount. Aaron, 3 out of 5.
3 out of 5. And so some of this will be some things I'm working on, but I love to come into this segment as not an expert, but as talking about a topic, and maybe it could be more open forum about something that I've been trying to recognize more. And then I watched your latest video, Braydon, with Kyle Kazuda. Shout out, go watch that video after watching this video. And everyone's talking about pattern recognition, and it's something that pros will say in like post games. It's something you'll see in YouTube clips from Zane, and a lot of it's really nebulous, right? Patterns, like we kind of know what patterns are, but the pros see all the patterns. Or you're meeting with Kate Fahey, and she's talking about like a 3-shot combo, right? She's talking about a pattern that she's trying to set up. And often, if I feel like I'm dinking cross court, I feel like I'm in a pattern. Okay, like I'm in a cross court pattern, and then maybe I'm getting aggressive and trying to hit a flick off a pop. But I don't think I fully recognize every individual pattern. Say there's 5 key patterns when dinking or something like that. And I know Kyle kind of had talked about systematizing kind of what those look like. But one thing is when I'm playing, and I would love to learn more patterns and recognize them sooner, and then I would say isolate those patterns against my opponents and saying, I know I'm playing someone with a really big forehand or really good forehand speed up, and so I want to stay away from this pattern. Or if it's their new opponents, saying, I'm not sure what patterns will work or not work, but being aware of what's working in the game and then doubling down on those patterns or staying away. And so Braydon, I would say, like, what are the patterns, and Kyle, that you guys have identified that you actively look for, or how can amateurs, maybe more like me, begin to learn more about patterns and recognize them to implement into their game?
Yes, I think for patterns, when you're trying to say identify them, it's repeatable stuff. So when I go here, this happens. When I hit this shot, this is likely to happen. Mm-hmm. So when you have these high percentage of likely responses, like that's what a pattern is. So a couple examples that Kazuda gives on his school is if I'm on the right side and I serve out wide, the person that is returning it is going to do like a little banana loop. So I should drop it to the middle because he's not going to be there. There's going to be a space there. Like, that's a pattern that's recognizable. You've heard of like the triangle theory where if you speed up at an angle, it's going to come back at an angle. So those are a pattern is just anything that is repeatable, recognizable, something that's just going to happen over and over. If I do this, then this kind of thing. And so when you're identifying patterns or looking for them, that's what they are. And once you like find some, they just don't go away, right? So I have a couple like speed up patterns that I like. Yep. A big one I do is I'll speed up off the bounce off the right, go across the body, and then look for a rebound on the left with my either my backhand or my partner's forehand there. Then I've started implementing a couple of these serve patterns that Kazuda identified, but like up until just these last few months, like, okay, I've heard the term patterns, but I haven't started like making like a catalog of them. And that's why I really liked Kazuda's class, is because he identifies them, gives them names, and makes it really easy to see that, okay, these are patterns that exist that they've identified and come up with. But yeah, I don't know. What about you, Kyle? What do you think?
Well, I have two thoughts on patterns. Like I have my own patterns, which I'm usually just call combos. Like I'm typically looking for if I'm playing right side, I'm looking for a backhand flick to their left hip, and then I'm sliding left, looking to take a forehand off their next shot. Or if I'm playing certain people, I try to pick up their patterns, like the way they dink. Like they typically dink, 2 to the middle, and then they go real wide and stuff like that. So kind of like their patterns versus like my attack patterns, where I kind of just have muscle memory. I try to like burn them into my mind. Like I speed up here, I slide here, and I'm waiting for it here. Just because.
Yeah, I think patterns and tendencies, maybe those terms get mixed up.
Yeah.
Is there a difference there? I don't know. Maybe not. But yeah, no, that's the topic I'm exploring and thinking of more. And what I ought to do, we're just like talking about it, I probably should just write these down as I recognize them when I'm playing. That way I can remember them and recall them later or reference them later. I don't know. What do you think, Aaron? Do you have a couple?
No, I've seen like speed ups and then getting ready with your forehand, like getting low in scorpion, things like that. Like I said, cross court dinking. I'm a lefty if I'm playing on the right. Like backhand dinking, but then getting ready for a flick. I don't think I recognize them as much as I'd like. Definitely on serve returns, going cross court, it's probably easier. Like where that ball, especially if you're unwinding a stack, where that ball is going to go, versus if I return straight on potentially. So things like that. But I mean, for me, it's hard to think when you're playing. And like I remember, like Kyle even said, like you were blacked out right now. Like you're playing pickleball. And so I think the more, because it's not defined as like this is a blank pattern or something like that, I think it's harder to identify in the game because there just isn't like knowledge to it. And so then I guess my next question was, do you think there are different patterns that are more like prevalent at different levels? Like you'll see a pattern at like 4.0 to 4.5, and then patterns at 5.0 plus or patterns 4.0 and below? Or do you think that that's just so dependent on the styles people are playing pickleball?
Yeah, I mean, in general, you're gonna have more success at lower levels when you're speeding up and playing fast, right? And then that doesn't always translate as you get higher, and you have to find, I guess, slower patterns. But I don't know, patterns. I don't know. I can't say I can go tell you 5-6 different patterns for each level or anything like that. But I do like the idea of like, okay, in the future, so we can talk about these things better and play better, is write them down. And I guess film the solution to not recognizing them in the game. Maybe you film yourself, go watch afterwards, see where you made mistakes, see what those are. I don't know. Patterns is a funny term. I keep thinking, okay, what? To me, yeah, it's combos. Maybe it's tendencies. Like it could mean a lot of things.
Mm-hmm. But it's repeatable, predictable outcomes in pickleball that you can put yourself into positions to win points. Like right, and so it's just it's I don't want to say pattern, but it's like recognition of where the ball will be later or where you're setting up the ball, and so you can do something, But yeah, I don't know. Like I feel like I know about patterns more than most for people my level, but it gets so nebulous, and there's this loss in translation of like when pros talk about it, like it seems like they're all speaking the same language. Like they're all saying, well, we're all dinking middle because I don't want to go to a lefties or a person on the left's right forehand because they'll just speed it up like crazy. And then I'm listening. I'm like, yeah, that makes sense. All right. So next rec game, Aaron, go dink middle a bunch, right? And so like that's like my dumb caveman brain. But really, I know that there's like we're so many steps removed, and so I think 3.0 to 5.0 is just understanding, even at like a very infant level, what patterns are, how to recognize them, and just like maybe even if it's just a call out to say, this is something I don't know enough about that I'd like to know more about.
Yeah. It could be as simple, like, I don't think we need to overcomplicate with the term pattern. It could be as simple as, getting into a cross-court battle, you win that 60% of the time. Like, that's an exchange or a pattern you want to get into. Maybe it's, picking on a specific spot like the inside foot, like that's a spot or a pattern you want to get into. It could be, it doesn't have to be this complex thing, I don't think. It could just be simple stuff. Drop here, dink here. Like, those are strategies or patterns you can look for and identify. And sometimes, it varies from person to person who you're playing. But I do like the idea of film. And maybe it's the idea of just, watching film, knowing what you're good at, and finding patterns or locations that sets you up for what you're good at.
Right.
Like, for example, I have a really good backhand flick. If I can get my partner in front of me to get into a cross-court battle, like Kazuda was telling me to kind of step in middle and look for that flick more, like try to get that cross-court battle in between your opponents, and then I can come in and kind of use my strengths, to our advantage there. And so it doesn't have to be super complicated. It can be really simple things too. Sometimes I think patterns can just be seen as this complex, hard to understand thing. But yeah, I like the idea of writing it down, watching film, seeing, see if you can identify those and just build a catalog over time, because patterns could be different for every single person depending on what your skill and ability is.
No,
Yeah,
go ahead.
So, Kyle, please, no, go.
Oh, no, I was just going to say, Braydon, like, this goes along with your, like, little black book. Like, you can attach patterns to your opponents, and then you can refer to that later. Like, I know how you would have, like, strengths and weaknesses, but you could also have, like, this team's, and it could be team dependent, not even person dependent. Like, this is their patterns that they, try to execute.
Yeah. Yeah. Anyways, if you haven't, if you're into that kind of stuff, like Kazuda's course, I'll put the link in the description again, because it's really good. He's the best. It's the best resource I've come across at identifying patterns, what they are, because they deliver very general patterns, not like person specific, and it's worth it just for that little pattern library they have. I had to go read off a few. The only ones that came to mind were like the 2-3 serving patterns of like serving wide. This is usually the behavior. If I serve the T, then it opens up this opportunity, and things like that. That if you do this action, this is most likely what's going to happen. And so, anyways, that course was really good. You had a last thing here for pattern recognition. You had a Klinger and Augie Gee example.
Yeah, it was. They were getting in the same. It was Augie and Newman versus Klinger and Flick Wizard, or Blank Wizard. I don't know if you saw that new Dallas Flash ad that they were calling him, which is so funny. But Augie was doing he's a lefty, so he's doing a two-way backhand roll dink, right? Like a lot of topspin. And he kept engaging Klinger into this pattern of cross-court two-way topspin, and it was never working for him. And he probably lost, so they were going back and forth a few points, and then, Klinger's super aggressive, and so he'll speed up anything he can get off the bounce. But I just saw Augie lose like 5 straight points where he was engaging in this cross-court two-way roll, and I was just thinking, like, this is a pattern that that Augie's trying to do, and it's not working for him. And so, I think that's the kind of recognition that I want to have in my game, of saying, I'm trying something a few times, I've lost it more than I've won it. What is something else?
Going there.
What is something else, or what is a new pattern that we can, dink middle or something like that we can start winning points, and having enough recognition during a game to stop here and start there.
Love it. Sweet. Thanks, Aaron. Let's jump over to Kyle's Corner. This was brought to you by Slice. So they have weighted butt caps and coins that you can use to bring your balance point down, make heavy paddles feel lighter, adds stability, adds a little power. A lot of benefits to handle weighting, and the Slice is the best ones to do it. You do customization, which is always cool. So go check out Slice. Link in the description, code PB Effect to get a discount off of their stuff. I pretty much put a coin or a Slice on almost every paddle these days.
All right. So this week we watched some PPA. Most of my notes are on some PPA stuff. I don't know did you guys watch PPA Red Rocks?
Some of it. A
little bit.
I'll tell you, number one observation, Big Papa Jimmy is back. I have not seen James Ignatowicz play that well in a long time.
He needed it, dude. He's been kind of slumpy.
I know, and he took out Jame in singles, made a deep run in mixed. It was pretty impressive.
Who was his mixed partner? I didn't catch any games.
Was it Black?
Okay, nice.
Yeah, it was. He played really
year for
well.
him. Yeah.
Do you know when his contract comes up, Kyle? Because we still got our bet on that.
We got our bet. We got our bet going.
Can we get a refresh for a new attendee?
Basically, if as soon as his Selkirk contract is up, I bet that he's going to switch to likely a different shape from a company that rhymes with Rolla.
So you think he's going to go to a standard? The bet is if he switches brands, he's going to go to a standard shape. And I'm saying he's going to stay long.
Wait, then why isn't he playing with an Epic?
That was my argument last week.
Because it's not going to give him the power he wants. I am betting.
So he needs a power standard. And
I think he's going to go to a JOOLA Scorpius.
Rhymes with
honestly.
YOLA. Okay.
So that's my bet.
Yeah.
Wait,
that's
what's
that's
riding?
$25 in my pocket.
$25. You guys need to up the ante here. Come on. $25.
We are working fathers. We don't have a ton of money.
Kyle said he's paying for lawyers and stuff. So he can't.
Let's start getting some PE equity here.
Oh man,
equity.
Shots fired.
Why is that shots fired? I was just saying.
That's true. Yeah, so that I was just blown away by that, and then again the Alshon and Daescu, they're looking insane.
Yeah.
Like that's a force. I think that could be the team that would be number one, other than the Johns brothers.
Dude, Daescu, number one in the world.
Yeah.
Tell me I'm wrong.
No, I mean honestly, I think you have an argument. He is very
Have an
versatile.
argument?
No, that's what I'm saying. Like I think that's
He's
definitely a
number one.
discussion.
No, yeah, he's winning with everybody.
Yeah, he definitely seems like he fits everybody's puzzle.
Yeah. Yeah, no doubt. Christian's playing his best ball too.
Yeah, Christian's playing good. Less meltdowns.
I kind of feel like Daescu rounds him out a little bit. Like he's obviously like the stable ship through the storm.
Yeah, no,
but
exactly.
when Christian's like playing chaotic and like it's working, he's like arguably the best. And so I kind of feel like that combo of chaos and stable like really works for them.
I still don't think you can argue. Alshon is definitely probably the most athletic dude on the tour. Like he is an athletic guy.
But that doesn't make you the best.
No, it doesn't. But he definitely has the tools in the toolbox.
No, you're right. Like when he's peaking,
Yeah.
Yeah, exactly.
he's number one. But when you have Andre, who's his level is so high constantly, and he just wins speak louder than anything, and he wins.
And they actually brought it up today watching Daescu. What's so cool about him is if you've watched his game evolve, he used to be like a very standard, getting that long dink rally, and he was just like a dinking machine. And he's like, his game's molded into being, he can play aggressive now, and he didn't used to be that. Now he's a monster. So I love that.
He uses his reach well. He's like a guy I should model my game after. I could be Andre-ish. I need to copy him.
You were giving Andre and Rettenmeyer the business at Proton HQ
Oh,
last
yeah, that's
year,
true.
Braydon. So,
Dude, that video was so good. It didn't get the love it deserved.
No,
man.
we need to repost it. We need to repost it, like reposting every day until this goes viral.
Didn't they play with they played with the spoons, right? Yeah.
The spoons, yeah. They were so good. They were
That's
amazing.
so funny.
You know what? I've seen some trainer paddles since then. Those aren't the smallest trainer paddles. Those
No.
are
Those
like
aren't-
decently sized.
Well, they're not trainer paddles.
oh, is that what it is?
Yeah.
You guys need to rerun and legit give them some. I'm talking like 4x4s.
So yeah.
Well,
those-
And
what's
I'm
that-
just saying,
what was
I'm
that
just
really
saying it might not be
small
the same
one?
outcome.
Who made that? Was it Vulcan that made the one that was like legitimately just like a little circle?
This is like a circle. Yeah.
Yeah.
They'd probably still beat me.
Oh, that's funny. And then the last thing really about the PPA that went on, what did you guys think of the semifinal Saturday? So all the semifinals were played on Saturday.
Yeah, I thought that was cool.
Yeah, I thought it was a good idea. And I think the idea is probably for viewership to just basically Saturday has all these like high level, hopefully competitive games to get broadcast. I thought that was kind of a cool idea. I actually enjoyed it.
Yeah, anytime you can attach more meaning to what you're watching, like what they're playing for, when it's the whole thing all in one day.
Yeah.
Unless you're a diehard, you're just not going to watch it all, right? And so
Exactly.
and you tune in at random times. You don't really exactly know what the draw is, what they're playing for. But yeah, you tune in on Saturday. They say, okay, here's the semifinalists. You know who's in it. who's playing who, if they win, if they lose. I don't know. It's just easier to follow.
Yeah, I thought that was great. You can see that they're kind of trying to figure out how to mold these tournaments to get the most viewers, and it's fun to watch this stuff.
I like
change.
that one. Yeah.
So
what do they call the format where they
progressive?
Yeah, the progressive. I like the progressive.
Yeah, progressive's good, and the players say they like progressive too.
But that's only for like major events. This Red Rock was not a major event. I think they were just trying a new format for just regular events.
Yeah, exactly. So they just basically played all the way up to the semifinals, basically before Saturday of everything, and then everything on Saturday, and then we got our normal championship Sunday. I don't even know if I had any more notes in there. I mainly just wanted to talk about the PPA. There was a lot of cool PPA, a lot of cool partnerships, different partnerships. Deckel and Paris. That was a super fun one. Their first time partnership, and they made a final run. Wait, no, did they win it? Oh, I just looked it up before.
You're our guy that's supposed to know this.
I know.
You're a correspondent. If we don't have you, we have nothing.
You know what? I always tell people when you turn on the camera, like you forget stuff that if the camera wasn't running, you would know it off the top of your head. But they're super fun to watch.
I don't want to hear your excuses, Kyle.
All right, I'm fired. Fired.
You know what? Speaking of Paris, I gotta say, you know how Franklin posted their C45 weight setups based on the pros?
Yeah.
She did not have that wrapped around.
She did not have that wrap around. You know what? And as someone who put 0.5 grams of tungsten a country mile around that stupid paddle to see if I liked the weight setup, I did not, by the way. And then I go to see Paris not have that weight setup. I felt slighted.
You were gypped.
I was actually, I know the same thing. I was trying to tell how she had it.
She had it at the top, I think like at least 3 or 4 inches on the top, and then corners were empty, and then heavy sides all the way down. I didn't see.
She just took off the corners.
I think so, but I'm not sure if she had any under the handle or not. She probably did, but at least the top was exposed.
She's still
Yeah,
experimenting.
that makes sense, right? I mean, that weight up there just throws that swing weight up so high.
Yeah.
So
you could just play it
good
stock.
move.
You could play it stock like Georgia.
Yeah.
Georgia.
She's like, yeah, I'm really good. I hit the sweet spot every time. It's fine.
She's pretty good.
Pretty good.
Nice. What else you got, Kyle?
I think that's it. I don't have my notes because I'm looking at this phone with you guys on it.
You had a note here about Rob Cassidy partnering with the kid.
Oh, yeah, that's super cool. Did you guys see that story? So
No, tell us.
last year at Red Rocks, he was playing rec play, and he was playing with some kid, like 15, 14-year-old kid. And
So Rob Cassidy, if you guys don't know who Rob Cassidy is,
he's an OG.
I don't know if he's an OG pro, but he does a lot of announcing now. He's like that lefty kind of kamikaze style.
Yep, he plays
Nice.
ping
That's
pong,
Rob.
like a ping pong shake hand grip.
Yeah.
He used to
Very well known within
Yeah.
the community. Yeah.
Yeah, especially if you've been around a while. He was like my first pro that I like followed. But yeah, so he was playing. I guess last year he was playing rec play just with like some kid, and he's like, and he told the kid, he's like, if next year you're a 5-0, we'll play together. And this kid got to 5-0. And I guess they saw each other like a tournament or two ago, and he's like, "We running this or what?" And
they did it?
They partnered up and played, and they showed a few.
How'd they do?
It didn't show how they did, but it showed some It showed some highlights. It was it's pretty cool though.
That's awesome. I wonder if we can go dig that up on pickleballbrackets.com.
Oh, I'm sure we could find the bracket. Yeah, I don't know what level they played. I'm assuming they
5-0.
played 5-0. Yeah, but
I hope so.
That's awesome.
That's awesome. Cool on Rob.
So
All right. Is that everything, Kyle?
I think that's everything.
Paddle, Babble, and Gear brought to you ADV pickleball bags. You guys can't see this, but it's in front of my camera. Highlight of the week for the ADV is when you open this up. This is where you put your shoes. They have 2 pockets where you can put either dirty laundry or extra clothes, which I like. So it keeps everything separate. So they have spots for the dirty clothes and the shoes. Just pockets for everything in that thing, man. It's awesome.
Brayden, you were
Right.
living out of that bag in March. Like that was that was like your mobile closet, right?
Yeah. I just did like a deep cleaning of it because I
It was
have been living in it.
getting grody.
It's in a good place now. But yeah, go check them out. Link in the description. Code PP Effect. They're doing good stuff over there. I've been using that bag for months now. Love it. All right. Brand March Madness. So here's what we did. We got 16 brands just from Braydon's brain. with some debate from Aaron and Kyle on what we should keep and not keep. And we came up with 4 categories. So we have innovation, just how much the brand is, helped move things forward. Catalog/performance. So this is meant to be not only the performance of the paddles, but also the catalog of the paddles, meaning like, is it complete? Do they have control paddles? Do they have like a complete offering is kind of what we were going for there. And then within their offering, do their paddles play well? Are they, how they compete against the market? Then we have value, and then we have branding. The branding was probably up for some personal interpretation. How did you guys mean to take the branding? Like, how did you rate that?
I took it as their marketing and like how well known they would be to like the average pickleball player.
Yeah, that was good. That's pretty much what I did. Just, kind of looks and that side of things.
I think branding probably has the most subjectivity as far as all 3 of us filling this out. Because I think that we had some various takes.
Yeah, that could be the difference maker in some of these. All right, I'm going to zoom in. So we'll just, start with this corner. You guys can see these, all right?
Yep.
Sort of.
Okay, Selkirk Diadem. I didn't like seed these or anything. I just put them in alphabetical order, just kind of jump in different corners. So it's a little bit random. So we'll just kind of go through these one by one. We'll just share the scores. And if we think it should be different, we'll debate it. So 11-6-24 Diadem. I think 11-6-24 comes out on top here. That had a grand total of 48.
48
Diadem had, skipped it. Come back. 17. Okay.
Sweep.
That was a big difference. Diadem, I put them on here just, I don't know, maybe they're just top of mind with Blue Core. Maybe Blue Core changes things for them.
No, I was just going to say, like, with Diadem, like the 18K was awesome. Then there was like a huge lull in paddles. And I think that's because they went to the ball and they went to the shoes. And I am excited to see what this Blue Core is, but it's hard to give them points based on something I haven't hit yet. So,
right. Yeah. And the only other extra thing I'll say on Diadem is I gave them a slightly more point than I think you both because of the Hush. I think the Hush was really innovative.
Oh,
it wasn't
I
legal.
I forgot about the Hush.
So it was never legal, but I remember like that. There was some innovation there, and so
the Hush is a badass quiet paddle.
And so I feel like Diadem.
Kyle gave them all zeros.
No, I didn't.
Whoa!
you might have skipped that one.
Yo, Diadem, getting this guy's email.
No, I didn't though. That's funny. I wonder if I didn't save it after I updated it.
So wait, our 17 readout was not accurate.
Yeah, that's not accurate.
No. All right, so what?
I still think 11-6-24 would have won, but that score's not right.
We'll double mine. That gave him 26. That feels a little better.
Yeah, I was gonna say just give him because a lot of my scores and your scores, Braydon's, were pretty close. So
okay.
And it was hard, Braydon. You had your scores in, so I was really trying to like make the screen small and go line by line here,
as
to not
read
be
it.
influenced, because you can rationalize everything. You can rationalize well the Hush was really like revolutionary to a degree, and so maybe Diadem's actually a 4. And then I'm like, well, I don't like the branding as much as you say, Braydon. So maybe the branding for me is a 2. And so like it's really hard to kind of go in. But as far as mano 11-6-24 is walking to the next round.
Yeah. You make a great point. Okay, maybe I was a little harsh on them. The Hush, and their Warrior has like that little sandwich design, which is unique. It's a bit heavy, but it is still innovative and different. We can appreciate that. So, okay, maybe I didn't give them I was a little quick on my judgment there.
But I think that's what's tough about all of this is like you can get into arguing with every single paddle company in conversation, different nuance to where you can flip a score up or down. And so, I think that's where sometimes we got to look past the numbers, put 2 of them in a ring and see who walks out.
Okay. But we still think this is the winner here?
Oh yeah, they're walking out. They're walking out.
Okay.
They're walking
out. All right. All right, next, Honoluou, Selkirk. Let's see what we got here.
Curious to see the scores on this.
I think
Selkirk,
the branding
37.
Ooh, strong.
And then Honolulu 35.
Whoa,
yeah, I was gonna say
this is really close. Okay, do we agree? Do we think Selkirk goes over Honolulu.
Selkirk crushes Honolulu in branding.
Agreed.
Branding, yeah. Honolulu's a little weak there. We all had ones here on branding. For me, it was a few reasons. Like their designs, are kind of same across the board. Plus the branding, as far as like it's a little bit tricky to tell what the purpose of each paddle is. If that makes sense. Which kind of goes into the catalog performance. Like I put a 2 here, Aaron. You put a 4. I put 2 just because
It's muddy.
It's a muddy, yeah. It's hard to navigate. They have some really good paddles in there. Pretty much any of their J2 shapes are really, really solid.
Yeah.
Obviously, I'm still a huge fan of the J2K, but even within their J2 shape, it's like, they have the TI, they have the TI Plus, they have there's 4, 5, 6 options there.
Yeah.
And they have some some blogs and different things to kind of help you navigate it, but it's not immediately clear. Where I think you look at 11.624 or something, at least it's very clear what the options are, what they're meant for, kind of thing. So that was my thing here for them.
Yeah, and I put a 4 because while it is muddy and they have too many products, and it makes it confusing if you're not like a nerd to say like to weed through what's good and bad, is they were still making like stock hybrids with a 7+ twist weight, and so they have done some really good job as far as jumping on Kevlar, jumping on titanium, J2KC offering Gen 1.5. And so while we could probably agree that they've done too much and then they just marketed what stuck, like they do have a lot of options that, and I kind of know some friends that are really big J7K fans, they're like the elongated. And
I'll be
so
right back. I'm being summoned.
Okay.
And so while I think, you could definitely argue that the branding is low and maybe innovation could be a 3, it can be tough to execute based on one, trends and 2, a different lineup. And, they did a good job, like getting paddles out that kind of haven't existed. Like there's not a lot of hybrid paddles with over a 7 stock twist weight.
Right. Yeah, I agree. And I do think that hybrid shape is their bread and butter. That's what makes them, that's what they're known for. And I do love that shape, and like every iteration of it is really solid. But you're right. I think, I guess when I think innovation, okay, yeah, that
new.
they came with that new
What are they
shape.
bringing new?
I'm thinking new. Like, what do you bring into
It's
the
an
market?
iteration. Yeah, it's an iteration.
And a lot of their stuff is not necessarily them like engineering something brand new. It's just like little tweaks of what exists or is very similar, just in their shape.
Sure. But then my counter argument again is they jumped on, and regardless of the whole them disclosing break-in with their new J2K Plus, J2TI Plus, and that being a little bit, we're not sure how we feel about disclosing a paddle is going to break or it having a shorter life. Again, they did get a floating core J2K, J2TI out quick, and it performs good. And there's people saying that the J2TI, which Plus that I haven't hit, isn't breaking in as much. And so they've been able to quickly execute, based on like kind of, I would say, some of the needs of the industry. And so we've seen other companies take more than a year to come out with pivots. So that's where they're very agile. Again, maybe too agile, and like a throw it at the wall and see what sticks kind of method. But I think you can argue the reason that we're talking about them and the reason that we're saying like Honolulu might upset Selkirk is because of a lot of these small nuanced moves that have won them a lot of favor.
Yeah, you make some really good points, and you are swaying me a bit here, and I like your takes there, because when I look at Selkirk, I mean, the big thing holding Honolulu back, at least on these points, is kind of this branding side. Like if we all put 2s, 3s here, they have more than what Selkirk does. Yeah. And if I were to weight innovation, performance, value, branding, like branding's the 4th thing on this list for me. And I would rather take a paddle that has good value, is affordable, plays really well, and fits me, versus feeling sexy with something that's well known. And if you take branding out of the equation, Honolulu beats Selkirk for me.
And here's a weird way to think about it for me. I will say if we put Selkirk through on this round, I wouldn't be surprised if they lost in round 2. If we put Honolulu through, I'm not sure they could win again. That's the thing for me. That's my opinion. I'm not sure if I'm right on that. But then again, I've never been a huge Selkirk advocate. Kyle, we need a tiebreaker. Kyle, what do you think?
So I obviously I had to take a break real quick to go put my kid back to bed. But the big thing with Selkirk for me that a lot of times we always forget is just like they have so many options, like grip options, and I always think that like that still does play a big.
So like outside of paddles, they have so many other things you can add to your cart, which is a plus for them. Is that what you're saying?
Yeah, and the again, the branding's good, and I think the value hurts Selkirk a lot. But as
value does bring them down.
SLK helps. If you include SLK gives them points.
Oh, that's true.
Right, but you put up their SLKs against the $130 options from Honolulu. I take the Honolulu all day, right?
All day.
Yeah.
Okay, I was originally kind of thinking Selkirk here, but Aaron, you persuaded me, and I think we get the upset here with Honolulu. What do you guys say?
Let's make it spicy. Let's make some headlines.
That's 2-1. So yeah, we put them through.
So
Honolulu.
Kyle, you were gonna stay with Selkirk?
I was gonna say with Selkirk, but that's a close one.
Yeah, I mean, debating Selkirk, like obviously, okay, we got a couple fives here. Their value is low, that holds them back. Their catalog, like their paddles, are pretty so-so, but they do have a huge variety. And then the innovation is, I don't know,
You could argue Selkirk's more innovative than Honolulu because Honolulu is a master iterator.
But they don't always innovate around performance per se. I guess they have like their Infinigrit thing, which I think is legit. You know, they just want to stick with edgeless, not for like performance reasons, which is always, I think, is a drawback for them. But yeah, I guess their innovation is kind of hit and miss on different things. But we're gonna go on Honolulu. We got 2 there.
Let's do it.
Okay, 6-0 YOLA. Let's look at our scores for those. 6-0 was right there. 23. Kyle, you got all zeros again, brother.
Why didn't it? That's why I filled it out. I wonder why. I must have like saved it not at the last time I wrote through it.
All right, I'm copying Aaron's for you. They're coming in at 36.
Good answers, Kyle. I agree with your takes.
Yeah. Me and Aaron think alike.
YOLA?
Yeah.
YOLA was 46. Wow.
Yeah.
YOLA's got a high score. All right, let's debate this. YOLA, let's see. Innovation, I give a 5.
100%.
Because like they're introducing brand new things. They're working with the factories to bring stuff to market that nobody else is doing until later. And so I think that gives them a 5. Catalog performance, I put a 3 because, okay, the paddles they have are really good, but it's only in the power line. Outside of their power paddles, they just have some so-so, just kind of older tech, still on the expensive side. And so I don't think their catalog is full in the sense they have like a really good control, all court, and power option. It's just kind of all or nothing on the power side. And their shapes are a little, like they have 4 elongated, then they have the 2 Scorpius models, and it's kind of muddy there with how many options they have, with some of them being so similar. Like I wish they had a true hybrid. And so I do think there's some things they could fill out on the catalog side, though. Obviously I think they have the best power paddles you can get at the moment, but that's kind of all they have. Value, extremely expensive. I gave them a 3 only because you can't match what they have. So you can't go get a $200 version of this paddle. This is the only option you have for them right now, if you want that level of forgiveness and power and feel. So it's unique that way, and so it kind of adds some value, but it's still very expensive. Branding, I think their stuff looks sharp. Their marketing's solid. They also got all the pros, and they also have the clothes. They kind of have that full bit there. But that was my reasoning for those. You guys have any different thoughts?
No, I mean, the YOLA basically was the first Gen 2 and Gen 3 paddle, so you got innovations like insanely high for YOLA.
Yeah. But you guys both went higher on the catalog performance.
I was thinking of their Gen 2 paddles. I mean, everyone around here had those until the Gen 3s came out, and so you could argue that those are all court leaning power, right? And so again, YOLA, they kind of they don't think like you don't think of like all encompassing. I'm going to buy the power. I'm going to buy the control. I'm going to buy the all court. You think of YOLA like an iPhone. Like you're going to buy the newest iPhone, whether it's power, whether it's control. Like whether it's a new category, it doesn't matter. You're just going to buy the latest. And so I think it's more of how we think about JOOLA than it is them not having options. Again, I know they are sunsetting their Gen 2s because I guess they're crunched a little bit. But like for me, like I put it as a 4 because they got 14s and 16s. They got the shapes. Again, you're right. They do have. I wish they had a true hybrid. I wish the Magnus didn't exist. But they still have a lot of paddle lines, and for a while you could still buy those Gen 2s if you didn't want top end power. And so I think you could talk me into a 3. I think I'm a 4 leaning 3 more than I'm a 4 leaning 5.
Okay. Kyle, any other thoughts?
No, I mean, if you had a QA category, they'd be like a 0. But
All right, 6-0 came in at 36. I have low innovation and catalog performance. I still think they're decent value, and then they do a pretty good job on the branding side. You guys both had higher there, but for me, the innovation, they were the ones that popularized the hybrid shape. The Ruby, they were one of the first to come out with the Kevlar, but since then, I feel like a lot of their stuff has been kind of quiet, and so I know that they keep saying they have some stuff on the horizon, but we haven't seen that yet. So at the moment, I think they're a little lower here. Maybe a couple of years ago this would have been higher, but they've just been a little bit quieter lately. Catalog performance, kind of a similar thing. We talked about before with Honoluou, and it's a little bit muddy in there. They categorize stuff by like a gem series, and they have these different names, but there's not necessarily a meaning behind them. Like, okay, this is the power series, this is the control series. So it's a little tricky navigating them that way, but They do have a lot of content in there that says, okay, these are our control style paddles. These are, they're more power oriented, but it's not immediately clear, and they have to kind of go overboard to explain that and have, figure it out. But I do, their paddles, quality materials, the hybrid, their DBD is still relevant. Mm-hmm. It's been a few years. The Ruby's still relevant. It's been a couple of years. Value, I think they're kind of 200s, high hundreds, and so just kind of middle of the road there. I don't feel like their price is like there's no like innovation there that's really demanding, that 200 plus with some of their $200 models. But it's still not like outrageous.
And they were more affordable before 30 paddles for 130 came out. You know what I mean?
Right.
Like that 160, 180 was like a pretty approachable price until the market just flooded with tons and tons of options under 150.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah,
I would agree.
Any other thoughts from you guys?
No, I think you hit the nail on the head.
Yeah, and I think they're just like right in the middle. Like I hate to say the word average because that has negative connotations, but I just think they're like kind of like 2.5, 3 all the way through. And if anything, I give them a touch on branding. I still think the Ruby is like one of the most prettiest paddles in pickleball. Like I think it's just gorgeous and iconic. And I am so excited for hopefully 6-0 to do something amazing in the future because I want to be invested. But right now, I think I'm just kind of sitting at that 2.5, 3 all the way through.
Yeah. I mean, even all these years later with their big hit with the DBD, they still have a very loyal fan base.
Yeah.
And they're due for a hit here.
Yeah.
And there's lots of rumors of some stuff they got coming down the line, so we'll see what they bring. All right, next we have Engage, Bread and Butter. Let's see what our scores were.
Bread and Butter stomps Engage.
I would think so. Bread and Butter, we had 42.
Kyle's not here to make friends with companies. He's here to call it as it is.
Engage is 18. Ooh, that's not a great score.
And Kyle scored that one too. Yep.
Yeah, he did. Yep. Yeah. So for Engage, I feel like they've been making the same paddle over and over.
Yeah, and their graphics. It's the same.
Really
it's been the same
changes,
graphic for a
graphics.
decade.
Yeah. So not a ton on the innovation side. Catalog performance, again, kind of the similar issues as we've talked about before. They have a lot of paddles. It's not the easiest to navigate. Value, very expensive. We're looking at $270, and in order for like a Gen 1 style paddle to be like super relevant, it's got to be really special. I think the Paddletek Bantams are special.
Yep.
But none of like they're good paddles, right? But $270, it's tough to compete with if you're not like uniquely special. Branding. They've had the same look for a long time. The website is not. I mean, it's not the most branded out thing, but they still have a reputation. They still have a good reputation. I still think of as Engage as a player in the space. But yeah, those are my reasonings. Any other thoughts?
No, I just think I think they need a branding refresh and maybe some new blood in that company. because I don't know. They just feel stagnant.
Bread and butter. We can go into some of these details later for future battles, but 42, they come out on top there.
B&B.
Branding 5 all the way across.
All right, going to the other side of the bracket.
Ooh, that's a fun one. Can we start?
Chorus?
Oh, my bad. Sorry, I got excited for the battle matchup. Here we go.
I think I spelled chorus wrong. Kroos.
Kroos.
Kroos versus Gearbox.
Give me Kroos, man. Give me Kroos all the way to the finals.
Kroos had 42.
I was gonna say I got chorus over Gearbox.
38. That one's pretty close.
Yeah.
That's, you know what? I think anything under 5, you need to argue. You need to argue
Anything under 5?
Under 5 points of a difference. You need to verbally decide. It's not a point system.
All right. Aaron, walk us through your Gearbox numbers.
Innovation. They got patents. Rafa, is blessed with pickleball knowledge again. I know he makes a lot of elongated, heavy shapes, but you can't knock that he makes unique, beautiful paddles. Whether
100%.
whether or not we all like them or they work for most players. Definitely a 5 on innovation. As far as catalog, I kind of put it right in the middle. He newly released a lot of with a wide body shape that I think helped the catalog a lot. I think we would have all ranked it lower if there wasn't a hyper in both the Ultimate and the GX2s coming out. And so kind of right there in the middle for there, even though Gearbox skews elongated on a lot of their paddles. Value, I put it 2 because they're just top of line, again, really expensive. And, you could say, well, I would just maybe get a JOOLA because it's top end power and I get more touch. And now that they're dampened, right, I think it's easy to steer towards JOOLA. And so then that makes me skew, well, Gearbox maybe is a little bit too expensive potentially because I can get another paddle that has a little bit better performance, arguably. And branding, I give it a higher knock. I think the Gearbox branding is sleek. I know they don't do a ton of marketing, but I've always felt like they've had a strong brand.
Yeah, I agree. Yeah, they brand themselves around their innovation, which I think is smart. The website's really, really sharp. They do a lot of good stuff there. I don't really have anything else to add there, Kyle.
Nope. I think Aaron said it pretty well. Their innovation's high, all the patents and stuff. I don't like how they play, so that's a knock from me. I don't think the branding's that great. I don't think they have a big presence. They have early on, I will say that Gearbox early on had a huge presence because they had lots of reps that were like all over the place, just, trunk slamming. But they got away from that, and I honestly think that hurt them a little bit as far as like seeing gearboxes at your park. Like you'll still see the power paddles, but you used to see all kinds of gearboxes at the park because there was people pushing them.
All of those. I remember when I was first getting into pickleball, I was on subreddits. What are the best paddles? Like as any dumb rookie does, and didn't know that like it's all subjective and there isn't. You think there's just one best paddle. I remember seeing Gearbox referenced a ton, and it was not the Power Pro elongated.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So,
Kyle, what are your thoughts on your course ratings?
I think chorus is solid. The branding to me isn't the greatest, other than the one he just sent me that has like the Saved by the Bell look. Like to me, that's like
Super Court Fresh.
That's like the coolest looking paddle ever.
Gives him a 2.
So he's got it in him.
That's good. I think just to add to what you said, power of course is there's definitely a value. Quality paddles, they're like intentionally designed. Like their innovation isn't so much around, creating something brand new, but rather just, putting together the right concoction of what's available, and they do that well. And then they got a great catalog. Obviously, they're reworking their Fire models, but easy to navigate. I think the website could use a little bump up in look and modernization, but like outside of that, I think they got a great catalog, and things are pretty solid across the board. Not really any knocks, but not necessarily anything like super special either. Mm-hmm. What do we say? Kroos or Gearbox?
Chorus all the way.
What do you say, Aaron?
I'll say Gearbox to make it interesting for you.
Don't put this on me.
Come on, Braydon.
I'm gonna say Kroos.
Kroos. If it was spelled right, would you?
Tomorrow,
are you only doing that because it was spelled wrong? Kroos might win the whole thing just because it's such a cool name.
Paddletek, Spartus.
Oof.
What are our numbers? Paddletek, we had 34. Spartus 38.
Whoa.
Do we agree?
Would not have
Do we
guessed
agree with
that.
this?
Would not have guessed that. Let's see.
I'm
Who threw
gonna
off,
start
who
with
threw off the
Paddletek.
numbers? Kyle, what'd you put in there?
I know I gave Spartus high in the value. I can't read my numbers from this far away.
I can zoom in too.
Yeah. We all get them good value. Their Apollo was what, $115 after code.
Yeah.
That
Yeah.
was
Money.
that was really solid for a while. That they're more innovative stuff. They're coming a little pricier at 200, but that's not like outrageous. It's I think it's priced well for what they're doing with it.
And the Olympus was
And then-
cool and it was different. And
Yeah. The innovation side, I think they, at least more recently, they're trying new stuff that and other people have, like their budget line, the Orion or whatnot. It's a Gen 1, but they got like their own unique flanks weighting system with some targeted weighting. The molded handle I thought was great. So they're definitely doing stuff here that not everybody's doing. And did you guys get that email recently of what their like future plan is with like Made in USA stuff?
the 100% USA made foam paddle.
Yeah, I was like really impressed
Yeah.
with what they're trying to do for the future, and so I think that influenced my innovation number here. But catalog performance, they don't have a ton of paddles.
don't.
No, not really. They got the pizza
And
peel, the Olympus. Yeah.
And so we were all kind of generous with the
And they don't
three.
offer
There's just not a
millimeter
ton of
shapes, right?
options.
Too like the Apollo doesn't come in 1416,
No.
right? So they're just doing one
Right,
paddle,
right.
one size.
So I think that's kind of a knock on them. Value, I've always thought they were priced fairly. Branding, I've never been big on the designs of their paddles, but that was just my side. Looks like we're all a little lower on the branding. All right, what do you guys think? Oh, then Paddletek. Let's talk Paddletek real quick. But Spartus did have an overall. What's
38.
Paddletek
I
down?
was Numbers don't lie.
Okay, we had
You all-
mixed numbers here on catalog performance. We all thought they're expensive. Branding, I gave them high on branding. You guys were low. I love their commercials. I think their commercials are great. They're kind of Nike style,
Yeah.
where like they inspire you versus focusing
Let's-
on
let's
how
go
they made
again.
the paddle.
Let's
Yeah,
go
I think they
again.
do a really good job there. Their website's really easy to navigate, really good imagery and stuff.
Yeah.
And I think the designs, and, different colorways they have are fun. But yeah, I guess the big knock for them is just innovation and value. Like they're pretty expensive. I think in your head you're like, oh man, I'm getting a Gen 1 paddle, but it is made in the U.S., but it still feels pricey. Catalog performance, I gave it 2. You guys gave higher here. So the reason I put 2 here is their bantams are great, but outside of their bantams,
Yeah.
it's pretty weak.
The Tempest.
Even like their budget paddle, like their Tempest,
Yeah.
their budget paddles aren't great. And so outside of their bantams, I don't really think they have much to offer. But within their bantam series, right, they have 2 handle length options. They have multiple shapes, so it's pretty solid there. So maybe I was a little harsh with the 2, but those are my thoughts there. Anything to add?
Yeah, I mean, I gave them a 4 purely on performance. I mean, Paddletek has one. They have, they were first to 10 millimeter cells. I could be wrong, and so they have just lived and breathed and thrived off of that really great material. And then I gave it a 4 because like that TKOC has just lived at the top of power metrics, and it has weathered the storm of Gen 3. It's weathered the storm of like the Uni. It like just no matter what has like gone like with the Ripple, it just like has stayed tried and true. And like yes, it has a small sweet spot, and yes, it doesn't have edge foam, but like that thing is like chilling at the 99th percentile of pop and power, and like it is just a pure performance paddle. And so I'm not saying it's the best paddle for everyone, but I don't think you can kind of doubt its durability and its consistency and its unique metrics that like it doesn't break in. So like I think it's just kind of like it lives in its own category. And for me, like it has seen a lot of days and nights, and so that's why I gave it a 4.
That's fair. Anything to add, Kyle?
I just want to add that we are basically comparing David versus Goliath right now. Spartus versus Paddletek.
All right. Kyle, what's your vote?
I am voting for Spartus.
Don't do this to me again, Aaron. What are you going to do?
I mean, Goliath wins. You have to pick that too, Braydon. It's clearly Paddletek.
I have to go Paddletek.
Sorry, David.
I'm gonna give it to him. The score was better for Spartus, but I'm gonna give this one to Paddletek. All right, Vatic Pro, PB Apes. This is
That's a
tough
good
right
one.
here.
That's a good one.
Let's see what our scores were. Pickleball Apes, 29. Kyle.
I have never hit a Pickleball Apes paddle because Ivan never
So
sent me one.
you can't just put NA.
I put NA because I can't. I've never hit one. I can't rate it.
Never
based
hit
on
an
never
Apes?
ever.
You would love
ever-
that Pulse X.
No,
It's
he
got
was
Kyle
supposed to
written
send.
all over it.
Ivan was supposed to send me some, and he never did. I've never hit a Pickleball Apes paddle ever, not even
All right,
once.
but we copying mine. We give him
That puts him at 44. That's one of the top dogs.
Coming down here, Vatic Pro, 39. Okay, we're within 4. All right. I think so. Vatic Pro, they have a high score, but really low here in innovation. They were early with the thermoforming, one of those early Gen 1.5s. The Oni, of course, then kind of collapsed. That was going to potentially be pretty innovative. And then their Saga was good, but it wasn't like particularly unique technology wise. And they've been slow to adopt new shapes. They finally are introducing wide bodies. So innovation, I got them pretty low here. Catalog performance. What do you guys think for this one?
I think they have a pretty small catalog.
Yeah, they have their basically two series. They have like
Yeah.
their Sagas and their Prisms, and then they have the original thermoforms still on there. But yeah, like their website hasn't, or they haven't. Yeah, slow to adopt shapes. They do have wide bodies now, but they do offer 14s and 16s.
Yeah.
Not everyone does that anymore. And so at their price point, offering 14s and 16s in a couple of shapes, a couple of different handle lengths, there actually is quite a bit of options within their catalog. I guess I could give them a 4 there, though it isn't always the easiest to navigate. Once you kind of get familiar with the brand, or like, okay, Prism's their control series,
Right.
their Saga's kind of their all-core powers. So it's not particularly difficult once you get into it because there's not like a ton of, just like it's not a smattering of paddles. But yeah, now I can't think about it. They do actually offer
That's
quite
why
a
I
bit
gave
of
him a
options
4,
within
just for the exact
each paddle.
reasons. Again, like I wish they had like a top end power paddle. I know that's what the Uni was supposed to be, Oni. And the Saga really is probably living in all court, but they just have a lot of paddles, and especially with the new, like they've done 14s, they've done 16, they've done wide bodies, they have elongateds, and so like they just got a lot of paddles. And even though they haven't like maybe pushed the needle with something new and crazy innovative, like Vatic is just super tried and true, and I still see a ton of Vatics on courts.
And the performance is consistent, right? Like one of the things I think a knock I have against Pickleball Apes is their paddles do change over time.
Yep.
I'm not a fan of break-ins, although it's pretty common. And but they are innovative. Like their brand, their new series, their pulses, that was something new with the triple layer, everything in case. They're still trying to fix this so it doesn't break in, but it was still innovative and it still plays really solid, really sharp on the catalog performance style. Like I think their website's organized nicely. They have the shape options again, which we like. Everything's clear and easy to navigate there. Value. Yeah, they're like what? It's like 200 for a Pulse V.
Yeah, 160, 180 kind of range.
Just kind of middle of the road there. Their branding's solid. They've always done a good job there. Yeah, and they were one of the first to introduce Kevlar. They may have been the first.
Energy,
actually. They
yeah,
did like
that
a Kevlar
Proline
weave.
Energy was the first Kevlar weave.
Yeah.
It wasn't full Kevlar, right? It was the first Kevlar weave, carbon fiber Kevlar
Yeah.
3K weave.
Yeah, and they've been pretty deliberate with how they design it and introduce paddles to the market. They're not just kind of doing that spray approach, which I appreciate. But yeah, they're definitely a brand to keep their eye on. They definitely were elevated here in the last 6 months with their V series. But yeah, all right. Any other thoughts here?
No, let's battle it out. What are we thinking?
Vatic Pro. Okay, I'll put a vote first. I'm gonna give it to Vatic. Because there's a lot of good people that compete in the kind of that similar price range as PB Apes. There's a lot of good attributes about them, but Vatic Pro still stands out to me as one of the best budget-friendly bands you can buy with how many options they have at their price points.
I'm on Apes. Newer innovation, better, stronger brand, slightly more performance paddles, regardless of break-in. Also, in that Pulse V is a beautiful sweet like that. Sweet spot is so good, and it's a beautiful purple. Give me them crazy monkey Pickleball Apes, Kyle. Come with me, Kyle. Come on.
Kyle's
can't.
been staying quiet.
Oh, he can't go
'cause
Apes.
I can't go.
all right,
he has to
we gotta
abstain.
flip a coin. Anybody got a coin?
Vatic. Nope. I got to go with Vatic Pro because it's the only one I've hit, and
Okay.
they actually sent me one.
rock, paper, scissors. Or we'll do this. We'll do this pickleball style. Aaron, I got a number behind my back. 1 or 2.
It's 1, and 1 is Apes. Here we go.
It's a 2. I did not lie.
No.
It
Let's
was a
go.
2.
Vatic.
This is crazy.
Vatic Pro. Proton, Carbon. Start with Proton. Kyle, I'm going to give you the floor for this one.
With Proton, I'm pretty sure I gave it higher innovation than, well, Aaron was high too. Nanotech is still, that was still very innovative, even though I feel like they've stopped pushing it as much. It was still a very innovative product.
Yeah, why aren't they doing nanotech on their new stuff?
I've heard rumors. I've heard rumors of power nanotech.
I've heard rumors they're going to do it too, but I do feel like they showcased this awesome tech and then kind of backed off it, which is confusing. But I did notice Travis Retmeyer was playing with a Series 1 again. So he's back on the nanotech train. I think that innovation-wise, they definitely have the chops to continue to be pretty innovative. Branding, I think I gave it higher than you guys.
I do not like the look of their
It's just polarizing. You either love it or hate it.
I mean, I like it. I liked those candy colors, and I just think they sponsor, and they're just they're everywhere. You see their brand name everywhere now in pickleball.
Yeah, everyone knows who Proton is.
Yeah,
that's a good point. Yep.
So that's why those are my big selling points for Proton. I think the Flamingo's good. I don't think it was insanely amazing, but I do think it was a paddle they needed to create for their pros to compete. But yeah, I would honestly, Proton versus Carbon's tough.
No, it's not.
For me, it is.
Any other extra thoughts there, Kyle, for Proton?
No.
Or not Kyle, Aaron?
No, I think nanotech for sure an innovation, regardless of it being whatever, all the murmurs with everything. It exists. It's legal. It's very innovative. It's an awesome material. And then I'll also give them some props, too, on the Series 4, the core polypropylene mixed with Nomex, kind of some weird layering. I know Nomex had kind of not been on the market for a while, and so that was just new and different, and not a lot of companies have kind of messed with Nomex, and so I'll give props to them experimenting with another material, regardless of it still having edgeless gripes and everything with there. And so, yeah, I'll give them some innovation nods.
And then for Carbon, we all had them high for innovation. For their True Foam series, catalog performance, I was the lowest here, and they're kind of just like a one series wonder right now for me. I think the True Foams are the go-tos. The other ones are just expensive, kind of older tech style, and there's really nothing that makes them worth kind of what they're priced at. So you can go with cheaper options there. And then their shapes are a little outdated. I'm glad that they extended the handle length on their Carbon 2, the True Foam, so that was nice. But they don't have that true hybrid, man. I wish. I know that's in the works, but I think they were kind of behind on that. Yeah, for me, that they're kind of just a True Foam. And if within the True Foam series, the 2 is the best, and the 1 and the 3, you have to kind of tinker with to get in a good spot, and just aren't ideal out of the box. And so I gave them a little lower number there, even though I play the TFG, the True Foam 2. That's my go-to paddle right now. Value outside of the True Foams, they're very expensive. And but the True Foams, you can argue it's worth the price for, you get some durability gains there, and it's a unique paddle, but still, it's $280, right? Can just look aside from that. 5, everything's pretty solid, dude. Their product pages are super, super sharp.
Money.
Really good imagery. The paddles always look good. They're one of the better branded brands, in my opinion.
Yeah.
Anything else?
No, I mean, I agree. I gave them a 3 on performance because I was doing performance more than catalog. I agree that they need a hybrid, and I totally agree that they're a one-hit wonder. But that paddle just plays really good. And so I think you kind of have to skirt it a 3 because of how dominant they are in that all-court leaning power. And then, yeah, I'm fully aligned on branding. It's just money. I think they're kind of the Apple of pickleball.
Anything else, Kyle?
No, I think you guys, again, the innovation... The True Foam's a big deal, but before the True Foam, they rode their last series of paddles for a very long time. They still sold well, but I never saw the value. The value really was a tough push for those paddles, especially for how long that was the line they went with. I agree the branding's good. I think it's pretty minimal, which I actually really like. on the paddles. They're solid, but again, I feel like they are now just living off the True Foam. Like it's a one hit right now.
I guess if let's eliminate branding because Carbon was super good branding, Proton was lower. And we look at value, catalog, innovation. They're actually pretty similar between the two. Like they're both priced around $280. They both have some innovative stuff. They got the nanotech, they got the True Foam. They both have some challenges within their catalog.
They both had controversies.
They're pretty similar. Like it's branding that puts True Foam kind of over the edge for this one, in my opinion, and then a little bit on the innovation side.
Let alone like one really good paddle. In my opinion, Proton doesn't have that one really good paddle. You could argue that's the Flamingo, but with the break-in and me also just not being an elongated player, so it's a heavy bias. But again, I'd much prefer a True Foam over a Flamingo, personally. And then again, True Foam is a platform. And so again, I know we're not speculating the future, but when they have that platform of foam with new cutouts and densities, yes, there are one-hit wonder, but it's the genesis of
the potential
of the platform.
there, yeah.
And so that's where for me, it's Carbon over Proton.
I like that. I'm also Carbon. Kyle?
Yeah, we'll go Carbon.
All right, let's stay here. Carbon, Vatic Pro. We
Carbon.
Just talk through the two. I think I would go Carbon. If you consider future too, even like Carbon seems a little brighter there. Paddletek, Kroos. What are the votes? What were the numbers here? I think
that's a
Kroos
tough
is going to be higher.
And we gave Kroos pretty good. We gave him a
42.
That's crispy. That's nice.
Paddletek. 34. Wow, that's a 10-point difference.
Yep, Chorus is.
Anyone argue Kroos?
Nope, Chorus takes
losing to
it.
Paddletek?
I would put Paddletek, but I don't think we can skew from the numbers, which we all actively voted for.
Yeah.
But I think that'll stir some comments. Paddletek still's.
Oh, there's gonna be some hate comments. You guys don't know what you're talking about.
Let's go to the other side. JOOLA, bread and butter. What were the numbers here? JOOLA had 46. Bread and butter. It's going to be up higher.
To the top, yeah. 42.
42.
Nice.
Yeah,
okay, not far off.
Nice.
I think we have to give it to
My
YOLO.
only knock on bread and butter is I guess not knock, but in this comparison, like YOOLA kind of has that wow factor. They have that market penetration. Bread and butter has the wow come on the branding side, performance side. It's not quite there with YOOLA. I don't know. This is actually a pretty tough one. What do you guys think?
Well, I feel like we're apples to oranges comparing those two brands. So that's what
really
makes that's what makes that so hard, because you got to think bread and butter's aimed at like fun rec player, like, and YOLA's like, I mean, I know they're trying to change their image, but currently they're like high level competitive, aspiring pro player.
Yeah, that's I don't know. What do you think, Aaron?
I do feel like we do have to give it to YOLA, but
YOLA. I can't know if you can see the paddle I'm holding up.
No, I'm not looking.
I was holding. I was like, hello. Yeah,
I'm only looking at the spreadsheet.
Yeah, I think it's YOLA. I think I wish Bread and Butter had that paddle, but with the Pro 4, YOLA's got that paddle.
yeah.
Yeah. There's a lot of good things for bread and butter though. Like if maybe if like they're starting to expand their lines, like their new filth line coming out, they're gonna have multiple shapes in the filth. If they keep doing that across all their lines, like that's gonna be a huge bump for them. I think they're priced fairly, especially with the 50% off code they do. Both brands have excellent branding. The innovation side, again, is kind of like a Crow situation where they were the first to bring
Titanium PT,
titanium to market, which is really cool. But they're more of like, okay, there's a smart manipulation of what's available versus I'm working with the factory and bringing new stuff to the market. Yeah. But that's not what they're like. Like they want good paddles and they are good paddles, but that's never their intention is to be the most innovative, right?
Yeah. Versus YOLA is pure performance. We're winning on Sundays.
Right. And catalog performance side, like their paddles play well, but in a lot of cases it's one shape. And I don't know. I think we give it to YOLA here.
I think we have to.
There's an argument for bread and butter there. All right, 11,624 Honoluou. What do you guys say?
I say 11.624, absolutely, but that's just my opinion.
Both brands have a killer paddle out there. You got the Power Vapor, you have the J2K that are still extremely relevant. And, I see all over the place. Like, they both have that going for them. I do think 11.624 is, better organized, easier to shop with, just more streamlined. Neither of them necessarily just crush it on the branding side. But I do think the, with all the hype around the Powers, it's tough to put Honoluou in front of them for that. Do you guys agree?
I do. I agree. And that makes a fun match for the next one.
All right, let's go Carbon Cross. Cross, this was a little bit of an upset, I think, here against Paddletek, but do they do it again with Carbon?
I don't think so.
Night, Crows.
I think Carbon has to take that.
I just realized my bracket's wrong. Oh, you can't just Carbon it and just win it here. We'll put another one on top. All right, 11.624 JOOLA.
That's a tough one.
This is a matchup. Looking at our scores, we had 11.624 at 48. We had JOOLA at 46. So they had the edge there. Where is that edge? Is it just value?
Yes, I was going to say, do you value your $100? Because if you want that $100, 11.624 wins.
I feel like that's the big difference between these two. What do you guys like? Is there anything else that innovation? Okay, JOOLA has an edge. Catalog, I think 11.624 has an edge.
Mm-hmm.
Value, obviously 11.624. Branding, definitely JOOLA. See, we got 544. Branding on the 11.624 was all lower, so it's really the branding that's kind of keeping JOOLA in play versus these other three factors.
Branding or value is the kind of the two kickers.
Yeah, so to me, value is more important than branding. What do you guys think?
If branding is more important, or if value is more important than branding, then 11.624 takes the cake.
Okay, and give it to me here.
And that's another David versus Goliath, but David wins this time.
That's funny.
All right, Carbon 11.624. Just looking at our numbers. Okay, 48 there. Carbon was 43. Nice. 11.624 has the edge. They both have at least one paddle that's it's a big hit. That's doing well. Catalog wise, you got to give the edge to 11.624. Innovation, Carbon. If I think future of these brands, like maybe 6 months, year and a half, Carbon's probably going to have the edge. I feel like that platform, like Aaron said, is a big deal.
Yeah.
We're going to see some cool stuff come out of that. Yeah. But Carbon is always going to be in that 250 plus range. They'll never be
value
competing there. And if you just look at, maybe, top paddle to top paddle, even if they're only like a 5% difference between the two, maybe I like the Carbon 5% more than the Vapor. Is it worth, that $100 difference? I don't think it is for most people. But then there's the durability factor, right? Potentially the TFGs are going to be more durable than the Vapor Powers because of the Gen 3 style.
But you could argue that the Power series from 11.624 is the most durable Gen 3 construction ever made.
That we've encountered
so far. So, I mean, like, the best of Gen 3 construction fights the future of foam. What a fun headline.
Best of Gen 3 construction fights the future of foam. That's the question. Okay, votes. Kyle, you go first.
I'm going to bet on the future and go with Carbon.
Woo! Then Aaron, you going to pit this on me, or what are you going to do?
Oh, come on, bro. Yeah, you're pinned. 11.624. My rationale, 11.624 wins today.
Wait, hold on. Okay, wait, sorry. Keep going.
11.624 wins today, but maybe in 6 months, a year from now, I could see us looking back at this with the second release from Carbon and being like, it's Carbon, no doubt.
Yeah, that's exactly what my thoughts was. Okay, today, I think I pick 11.624 over Carbon. I think they have more options that are relevant than Carbon. Like, their jelly beans are fantastic at $100. I recommend those all the time. And then they do have a relevant Power series. Yep. All court, I'm going to go Carbon. All day. The platform, the future does look a little bit brighter potentially for Carbon. Not to say maybe 11.624 has something up their sleeve. They've always been current with the times. You know, maybe they come up with something and are going to stay there. But yeah, I think today 11-6-24 is our champ. Boom, we did it.
Champion.
All right. We're already at 128 minutes.
I was going to say
on
we're
this
at this
one.
Yeah.
You know, we still have one question in Q&A, and it's a great question. We're already this long into it. Might as well answer it. What do you guys say?
As long as my camera battery lasts, let's roll.
Keep it running. All right. This question is from Classy Kicks. It says, is it beneficial to start with a power paddle or a control paddle to learn proper technique, assuming you have no racket history? And this is in reference to Ignata, which is a statement a little while ago saying it's better to use a power paddle when you're first starting. He's saying that that's going to teach you to keep your strokes more compact. I would argue that a power or a control paddle is better for when you're first learning. I think that power paddles, I don't know what the word is. When you make a mistake, it exploits it more than a control paddle does. And so I think it's actually more difficult to learn the game and develop shots because it just kind of punishes you for errors. But maybe that's what you want. Like, do you want to be punished early on for making errors until you figure out a power paddle? Because once you dial in a power paddle, you're kind of good to go in the future. Oh, hey, Millie.
You say hi.
Hi.
She's not falling asleep, huh?
No.
How would you guys answer that?
So I think a control paddle for sure is more beneficial especially because he clarified in that question, there's no racket experience. So like hitting a stroke correctly with topspin isn't in their, bag of tricks yet. And I feel like once you're hitting power paddles, you have to be able to hit with topspin to keep the ball in. So I think you'd be doing yourself a disservice by, basically handicapping yourself.
Millie agrees. I like that. That's a good take. Aaron?
Millie's just mad Kraus didn't win the whole thing.
Come on, Kraus.
Yeah, I think starting with the power paddle to me is like shooting on a basketball hoop that's half the size when you're first learning basketball. I would much rather like learn good technique and pattern recognition and like good fundamentals before you move to a... It's awesome.
Okay.
Yeah, it helps you learn your fundamentals.
So no, big advocate for starting with a control paddle. Learn fundamentals, learn how to play the game the right way. And I also think that person will enjoy pickleball a lot more playing with a control paddle versus, I remember I met a guy that started pickleball with the Power Pro elongated because he wanted the most power. He switched to a control paddle. He switched to a Vatic Prism months in, and it was like night and day. Like, wow, I am not this bad at pickleball. I finally have a paddle that can support the game that I want to play. And so, I think you're going to burn yourself out going straight to a power paddle.
Yeah, we're all in agreement there, and we all had different reasons for it, which is kind of cool. And I think it adds to the argument that control's the way to go.
No, with racket history makes a huge difference. We've seen local.
That changes the argument. Yeah.
We've seen locally tennis players that were high level tennis players. You could put any paddle in their hand, and they were ripping great drives. It didn't matter if it was a power paddle or not, and the power paddle aided to their game already. So, I think that was the key part of the question that changed that answer.
All right, that's going to close out for us. This is going to go down as the longest podcast in the history of Pickleball Effect, and it will likely not be usurped ever.
That was good. That was good.
All right, thanks, guys. We'll talk to you later.
Later.
Thanks, everyone.